GSL.
Greetings from Seoul, South Korea, and welcome to the GSL Code S. I'm Artosis alongside Wolf. Tasteless not here, not back from Romania quite yet. Took an extra day, see the sights a bit.
Yeah.
And here we are, Code S, it's back.
It's back, man. It's day one, it's Group A, and we've got a great group coming out today. 2 strong Protosses, a Zerg and a Terran. One of our 4 Terran players, Byung, who was one of our 3 Terran players last season, but wasn't able to make it as far as Maru, for example.
This group is really, really stacked. This season is really ridiculously stacked. Only 4 Terrans, yeah, but, I mean, the level of the Zerg and Protoss players in here is amazing. The fact that we have the same 3 Terrans as last season and then just innovation on top.
Yeah.
Really starting to figure out who the best Terrans are, aren't we?
Well,
at least the most consistent.
Do you think Innovation's back to form? Do you think he's going to have a really good season?
He's looking really good. He truly is. He just did fantastically at DreamHack Bucharest. He made it into Code S. He's not like the same mind-shattering, earth-dominating innovation that we had before, but no one really is.
That's true.
that type of domination normally doesn't last for a long period, so to say that he's still slumping, I think is stupid. I think he's a better player than he was back then. It's just everyone else is better too.
Yeah, the world has kind of risen up, and during that time, it was actually pretty early for Heart of the Storm, so the game wasn't really figured out. We've had a lot of changes since then. You know, Hellbats got nerfed pretty hard, and that was kind of what Innovation was using to dominate the scene pretty hard. We're going to see if, with possibly the changes coming up with the transformation servos maybe being removed, could lend to some more Hellbat usage in all matchups.
Yeah, maybe.
Like
it's hard to say. I don't know if that's going to really do anything to TVP. I think TVP is actually getting into a pretty darn good space when you look at the changes in maps and the new Widow Mine. But definitely might change some things in TVZ, and specifically Innovation. Did some, especially on big maps, went into Hellbats quite often against Zerg with his bio. So.
Well, you know, on a map where, for example, you make, say, 8 Hellions to be aggressive early on against Zerg, and that's something you can just switch to the Hellbat mode, and that could be pretty nice. Now, we have some events here in the studio, so as you guys can see, you can guess the finalists, the round 32, the round of 4, and it looks like if you comment here 15 times, you can actually win something. And there's going to be a surprising random draw. You get a lucky gift. And if you leave your comments on the GOMTV Facebook, you can actually notify your friends about what is going on.
Yeah, look at that. So there's all sorts of stuff that you can do, especially if you are in Korea and want to come to the studio a whole bunch. So yeah, give those a try and enjoy them if you like.
So let's take a look at our groups, Artosis. I know you were talking about this pretty extensively last night on your Tumblr page. You feel like you know which groups are the groups of death.
Dude, I think there's 4 groups you could argue are groups of death here. It's this, like, I've never seen a round of 32 quite like this. I don't know if I call this the most stacked tournament we've had. It might be. We're like a little bit light on Terrans, yes, but these groups are ridiculous. It's so hard to guess who's going to actually come out of these. Look at them. They're crazy, man. Look at Group C and D. Tell me who's going to come out of those 2 groups, Wolf.
It's really, really hard.
It's like you just can't do it.
You know, looking at D especially, I think it's the hardest
D
group
is,
out of these 4.
I mean, D is insane. If you take Pro League into consideration.
And also the Zerg versus
D is
Zerg. The Zerg versus Zerg of all 3 of those Zergs, Life, Hydra, and Rogue.
Yeah.
And you look at Classic is obviously a really strong upcoming Protoss player right now too.
He's one of the best right now.
Yeah, I would say he's got really some solid skills to bring to the table right now this season. Then you get a group like E.
Oh god, E. E is so crazy, man. Like, Myungshik is looking amazing with his complete own style that's so hard to prepare for. And then, of course, Maru, best Terran in the world. DRG, always solid, always looking strong. Paralyze is kind of he's one of the players I look at in this tournament. I'm like, I am so sorry. I think that there's no way that you're going to make a big splash this season just because everyone else is so good.
Yeah. I look at a player like Younghwa too going into Group G. I think that's going to be impossible for him. There's no way he's actually getting out of there. I mean, look at Group H. Like, it's got Hero and Leenock, Innovation, and Squirrel. Like, what?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, especially with how heavily fan favorites all of these players are. Hero obviously is just a crusher right now. He's a killer. Innovation doing so well. Squirtle's been, popping up everywhere. And of course, Leenock is Leenock, so it's like just, I don't know, man. These groups are just out of control this season.
They certainly are, Toast, as well. Let's take a look at our players by race. We have Byung, Supernova, and Innovation being the ones to get in. Maru, of course, seeded from last season. Innovation being the only addition in this group because it's, the other three were there last season. 14 Protoss is still in 14 Zerg, so tied up there. You were saying earlier to me, you felt like this season could be Zerg dominated.
I do feel that way. I think that with this new map pool and just with the new patch changes and stuff, I feel like Zerg has maybe taken the lead, in my opinion. We'll see how it turns out, because this is all kind of fresh and new still, but I'm kind of feeling like Zerg is the race to beat this season. I'm feeling like we're going to have a Zerg champion.
Well, Koreans seem to be feeling the same way as well. I was doing another UBAT episode and getting the writers and talking to them, and they were all saying they felt like because of the recent patches to like the Hydralisk, for example, and also just with the players that we have in this season and how many players got in through Code A, they're saying, okay, it's Zerg 100%. Zerg is looking the strongest it ever has in several seasons. So
yeah, and on top of that, this new map pool, I feel like, not every map is like a Zerg map or something, but I feel like the map pool overall is pretty good for Zerg. So should be an interesting season. We'll see what the Terrans and Protosses can do about it.
Yeah. Do you think that Supernova is going to do better this season than last season, or how are you?
Who was in his group? His group was the one with SOS.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I had to play all three matchups. I think. Well, obviously not the Terran versus Terran one, but
was it the one with SOS and Sulky? No,
yeah, no,
it couldn't have been.
It's too much StarCraft in my
head.
God,
no, I know. There's it's hard to remember all the groups. I don't know is the answer. It's really hard to say.
Okay. I'm hoping that he's honed his mech a little bit, and we might be able to see maybe some more TVP mech out of him and make it work this time. Because he seems to be the only player who's sort of making that work, but we saw it was Stats who actually ended up beating him with carriers in PVT on Habitation Station and beat him down pretty hard there. And it looks like he knew how to deal with Supernova's mech.
Well, carriers always have been the bane of Mech Wolf. Let me tell you a little something about StarCraft 1. And the fact that Supernova was a Protoss in StarCraft 1.
Sure,
how's that feel, Supernova?
He gets to get that.
You like that
feeling.
when carriers kill your mech army? Yeah? You've done enough times.
Well, it's definitely a tough way to play TVP. No one's really figured it out, and I feel like he's getting closer and closer.
It'd be interesting to see if he does try that. Definitely will be. Something that you don't get to practice against as much anyways. Let's talk about today's group a little bit.
Sure.
It's a pretty sick group. Another group that's really hard to predict. I think everyone's going to look at it and say, well, Zest is getting out, right?
Yeah, of course.
Defending champion, just won GSL Global tournament in spectacular fashion. He's looking just ridiculously strong. Yeah. And I have to agree with that as well. I think he is going to get out of this group. If not in first, then in second.
I think he should get out in first place, especially because he has a Protoss versus Protoss to play in his first match. And let's be honest, he just played a great Protoss versus Parting in the GSL Global Tournament. He's showing some good Protoss versus Protoss in Pro League. He's got something crazy above 70% win ratio in Protoss versus Protoss in the hardest leagues in the world.
He sometimes looks perfect. He has games that I consider just about perfect in PvP every now and then.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Sometimes they shine through. And I look at him and I think he gets out 100%. The second player to get out, I think it's going to be either Tails or Byung, and I'm leaning towards Byung here because I think he's the better player overall in the matchup. And his Terran versus Protoss is really good right now. His Terran versus Zerg isn't as strong, but I feel like Dark is not on the caliber of these other players. I don't think he's getting out today.
I think that Dark is quietly extremely strong, and he's getting better and better. He's just one of these guys that it's going to be a little bit harder to prepare for him. You don't see him as often, but he's in a fantastic training house. You know that with how his results have been doing, he must be practicing so hard at the moment. You find more motivation the further you get, as you're a new up-and-coming player. I think he definitely could make upsets today.
Yeah, definitely could happen. He's got players like Sulky and Sue to train with, and those two players are doing really, really well right now, especially Sue, doing so well at the global tournament and going back-to-back to 2 GSL finals. So, you've got those practice partners to work with in your house. The house is obviously well-equipped, well-funded, And I mean, it should stand to reason that eventually this guy is going to be one of the best Zerg players in the world. And maybe he's already getting there.
Yeah. I really don't know where his skill level's at. He was impressive during the Code A qualifiers. I recall you and I actually commentated that together.
Yeah.
And he did play very well. So I'm not sure how this group is going to go aside from Zest. It's because Tails is like the king of upsets.
And he got first place last
Dark
time.
is like a dark horse, and then Byung is actually, he's killing it in Pro League right now. He's one of the best Terrans. We know that. Like, he's proving it.
Yeah.
He may not be so flashy, and may not be driving people wild like someone like Flash or Maru. Or even Ty here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think he's...
I mean, he's another one of these quiet Gosus that's just like so good, but people don't think of him as much.
No, I think he definitely is. I mean, the fact that he's consistently been in Code S 2 seasons in a row as a Terran player really says something, and that's what I feel really says something about Supernova too, because Supernova is a player who's always quietly been good, and I feel he never really got the respect he deserved.
That's the truth. Excuse me. So, our first match, of course, is going to be Zest against Tails. I'm very interested to see what kind of shenanigans Tails is going to try to pull out here against Zest, because you got to shenanigan him. You're not going to beat him in a macro game, Tails.
No. He's going to try to kill him early because he knows that Zest has some of the best late game Protoss in the world. Some of these awesome timings we see from him where he punishes opponent's third base or his opponent's lack of Archons. He just sees something with a hallucination scout and knows it's time to go kill him. And usually this sort of thing revolves around the third base. So I feel like Tails is going to have some all-in builds planned here. Definitely not going to try to play it straight up.
Well, we'll see what Zest does. This is a guy that could also mix in some sort of cheese against Tails. Sometimes opening with an aggressive build against someone who's aggressive can be nice because that means you're going to have a lot of units early on. Like, for instance, if he wants to open up with a 3-gate, he's basically going to be safe against anything aggressive, whereas, maybe a nice expand build that's safe against a 3-gate could be, something that hurts him a bit more. Something that you wouldn't expect maybe for Tails to do.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll see any Oracle builds out of him in this best of 3. I think we'll see...
We definitely could.
I think we'll see one.
Oracle builds are pretty safe overall. You get your harassment going. They do a lot of great scouting for you, and they have detection built in. So it's not a bad opener, I would say, when you're trying to play reasonably safe.
Yeah. I think that one way to get ahead for Zest is to use a strategy and also use it defensively. Because if he's up against some sort of hyper-aggressive strategy too, can make a Void Ray out of his Stargate. We've seen him defend with that before.
I gotta say, I think if I had to just give him a build and say do this 3 times against Tails, and I think that you'll end up winning, I would give him DT Robo, Dark Shrine Robo build. The old one. It kind of fell out of popularity when Oracles got better, but that's a build that's like really safe against cheesy stuff because you get DTs out and can defend anything that doesn't have detection quite easily, and you get a lot of free wins off of it as well, and it has 2 tech roots, so you're kind of just okay all the time.
Yeah.
Some Stargate builds are pretty good against it, but I would say overall I think I would like to see that at least 1 game out of Zest here.
I'd like to see a Phoenix build out of him too. Phoenix builds are becoming more and more popular, and not just on Maze.
Maze is so weird, man.
Just in general, people are starting to figure out what Phoenixes have so much utility. You can use the energy for whatever you want. Would be it defense, attacking. You can use it to even, harass probes. Obviously, that's the normal way to use it, but you can use it to pick up immortals when you're trying to hit your timing attack.
Yeah.
You can defend with that.
They're awesome. They're just in every way. They really make you watch out for everything. You have to keep your units in the right locations. In the long term, they can kill so many probes, man. It's crazy.
They can snipe a mothership core. They can bait energy to be used. They can kill warp prisms. They can snipe observers.
Dude, even in Wings of Liberty, like once it got really figured out, in my opinion, Phoenix openings were the best. They were the best overall, I thought. So they should be here where they're better, right?
Well, definitely hard to execute Phoenixes, but if you know what you're doing, it can be quite good. Double GSL champion Zest. This is his 2nd time in Code S against Tails, the sneaky, tricky Protoss. Let's jump into game number 1 here for Group A.
That was some awesome music. I liked that.
I was feeling it.
All right, in the top right, our defending champion. I was like, who is this? Oh, okay, thank you for clicking on probe.
KT roster Zest. 주성우.
I liked him so much I did a commercial for him.
Huh?
Actually, I liked him so much I did a commercial for him. That commercial that I did in Korean. Yeah, it was
that was for Zest?
Yeah.
Okay. I had no idea. I'm sorry.
To the bottom of the map here for MVP.
MVP Tails 김monhyung.
It wasn't like for him, but it was a parody commercial because he's on KT Rollster. It was a KT commercial.
Well, how do you like Tails as a player?
I love him. He's one of my favorite players right now, actually. I think that this guy is really a cool character as a player because he just shakes things up. He's one of the kings of upsets. He does builds that are not normal. They're oftentimes cheesy or just strange. But he's been able to consistently use inconsistency like to his advantage. You know what I'm saying? Like he's so varied that you would think that it's more likely that he will fail because he's not using this solid normal style that ends up winning for the best players in the world, but somehow still he's able to beat those best players in the world with this varied style over and over and over again and win with it.
You know, it's a good point, and the thing is, if everyone tries to do this standard style, that's like, you're just going to end up with, you know, people like getting more greedy at the end, and that's like, as the player pool increases in skill overall, we're going to have more and more players doing those macro type builds, because that's like, you know, this is what good, solid StarCraft is, and if you can't do that and if you don't have those fundamentals, you're not going to end up making it most of the time. But that makes his play even stronger.
Yeah.
So, kind of an interesting thing. Now, we did have a slightly quicker gate. Wasn't quite exactly
I think
it was a 12 gate.
I think it was either 11 or 12, and the gate that we had for Zest was just much later.
Yeah, Zest was certainly a 13, but I think this was like a 12 right off the bat probably. And you can see he's just a little bit quicker on everything here in Tails' base.
Yep. And he's going to scout. It does get denied.
Yeah, he sees all the pylons that are there so far, I guess, but looks like a Twilight coming down for Tails as soon as he gets rid of that probe.
Yep. And on the other side of things, we have a Stargate, so I think we are going to see that Oracle build here. Or do you think it's going to be Phoenix's?
I think it's going to be Oracle.
I think so too.
You know, there's always a possibility, I guess, of Oracle into Phoenix, but I think he's just going to open up with an Oracle here. Well, scout what's going on, try to get some harassment going.
Usually the only time you see Oracle into Phoenix is when you scout with your Oracle that he has Phoenixes, but oftentimes when you do that, you've already lost the game because he had Phoenixes and you went for an Oracle, so...
Indeed, indeed.
Ooh, Dark Shrine here.
Yeah, not too surprised about that, and that's going to make the Oracle opening even better. So this is like one of those builds that is quite safe against almost anything, really. You know, getting an Oracle out and going 3-gate. This DT build, we'll see if he ends up getting a Robo with it. That would make it quite safe, but if he skips that, he'll actually be in a little bit better shape, I would say.
Nice deny on that probe here. That actually, you know, means no more forward warpins, but because of the way he's placed this pylon, it's not actually going to be deniable. I mean, he doesn't have vision of it, and it's so close by anyways, so he's just going to use these DTs very aggressively, very quickly, very early on. And if the Oracle's out of position, this could be painful, because he's forcing the DTs in here. He has so many Stalkers right now. This is a tricky build by Tails, and I really like it.
Yeah, this is really nice, and by bringing these all over here, you really want to send your Oracle across the map to get some damage done, to, you know, kind of get ahead in that way. So it's not going to be there for detection. The thing is, it's very fast, so it's going to see this Dark Shrine coming, probably going to have to turn around really quickly.
Yeah, he's going to have to make a choice here. Does he do damage, or does he come home for detection? Because he only has a certain amount of energy. He's got a Void Ray queued up right now at home because he thinks this is like a Blink Stalker all in or something.
Well, he's seen it now, so I think he will just turn around.
He has to turn around now.
And, you know, the thing is, he's going to get home before any real damage is done, I believe, and he's getting a second Oracle.
Yeah.
So Zest is, like, I would say, way ahead.
And he's killed so many probes over here that the DTs we can only afford one, and I mean all he has to do is basically block with Stalkers here. And there he goes. So he doesn't have to do that.
Well, he doesn't have as many Stalkers as his opponent here either, so that is definitely a little bit of an issue. He can micro a bit, but the amount he's destroying his economy, and look, already he's getting ahead in the Stalker count. So.
He just has too many Zealots up here to tank a little bit, so the Stalkers can't target as well. Good micro, and GG. Zest takes game number 1. Better build, I would say.
Yeah, this is just one of these builds that Zest needs to use against Tails. You need something with detection and counter harassment, because you get a pretty big defender's advantage for a little bit in PvP, and then something like an Oracle or like a DT can really bust up your opponent when he's trying to get aggressive on you. So
that was a
really good choice.
Really cool way to do DTs though. It seems like a soccer attack fake into DTs, so you start getting some damage done, and then maybe force him to make an immortal if he's got a robo for any reason, and then suddenly the DTs come in. So it didn't end up working for him there, but I like the idea.
It is quite a good build. You can definitely catch your opponent off guard with something like that. It's just Zest went straight down with the Stargate. Like, for instance, if Zest went 2-gate into Stargate into 3rd gateway and had a couple more early game stalkers, which may have been better against like a warp gate type of rush, then the Oracle would have gotten there a bit later. He may not have had the Oracle when the DT walked in, taking additional damage. The game may have looked a bit different there for sure.
Oh yeah, and I feel like if he does a different type of build like Blink or something, this build is really good against it, because he's not going to have any scout on that Dark Shrine. He's not going to have any detection then, because Mothership Core had to be at home, and he didn't have any sentries out, so he couldn't have sent a hallucination over. He didn't do the Sentry Rush build. So the idea for Tails here is good, but the build that Zest chose is, like you said, a build that's very good against Tails. It has detection, has that counter-harass potential to punish somebody who's moving out heavily with a large army who doesn't have anything at home.
Well, we'll see what he chooses on this next map. Definitely could be a similar build, as is Habitation Station. Stargate is a good choice, but a lot of times on this map, I've seen a lot of players recently opening up with Phoenix, just because Stargate is kind of an obvious opener.
Indeed, Artosis. Zest, GSL champion, GSL global tournament winner, is up against Tails here. He's up 1 game. Can Tails turn it around?